what I would say about the whole mindfulness journey, it does not at all get you pregnant. But what it does do is help you get through the hard times. Hello, good morning, beautiful people. Not that this in any way is beautiful at the moment, but I just gotta come on when I have a spare moment and just say I totally feel you guys on the whole getting into either yoga, meditation, a mindfulness practice, journaling, anything that is associated with just calming down and allowing your mind not to go completely berserk over everything. It was the hardest thing, harder than any of the diet that I did during my journey. So next week I'm going to show you kind of step by step how I did it and just reassure you that it is hard to do and that you just have to keep doing it and find your little niche. So stay tuned. Last little rant before bed. Not rant, this is not going to be a rant. But I asked a question a few days ago about if anyone was struggling putting in a mindfulness practice, which whatever that could be. And a lot of people said yes. And like I said to you guys, it was and still is one of the hardest things I had to do. The post that I just did before about rumination, making up stories, just your head just like going nonstop. Yeah, I used to do that a lot. I still kind of do it. I think that's just like nature, right? But yeah, I'm gonna kind of break down over the next week of what I did, what books I read, what podcasts I found helpful, the program that got me started, which was very IVF direct, and then all the other little apps that I got into my life when I wasn't doing IVF. So yeah, there was a lot, and there still is a lot that I do, and I feel like I'm forever going to be doing it. It's not just an infertility thing. And what I would say about the whole mindfulness journey, it does not at all get you pregnant. But what it does do is help you get through the hard times. And then when you're kind of on the other side of infertility, it really helps you to be grateful. And even helps you be grateful during infertility. But yeah, I will start breaking that down for you guys throughout the next week. So stay tuned. So I'm doing something super brave, which I see people do all the time. And I'm just like, how do you do that? Talk to your phone in public. I think I have picked a quiet street, hopefully. And we'll see how it goes. But I wanted to start my little talks about how I became more mindful during my infertility journey. So the first 3.5, 4 years, I did absolutely nothing to be more mindful. So I was always just stressed out about the whole thing, overthinking the whole thing, quite sad about the whole thing. So after our first failed IVF, and we did massive diet changes that also included my functional medicine practitioner recommending yoga and meditation, which I just found both of them extremely hard to do. So I went and bought Circle and Bloom, which I would say a lot of you haven't seen. I don't know, it's been around for a while. I bought the IVF Cycle 1, and it was interesting to listen to for the first few times because it is very focus on your ovaries, focus on the light. So it was hard to wrap my head around, but slowly but surely, I really, really enjoyed it. I actually even brought it in to my egg retrieval, which on my second IVF, my egg retrieval, I didn't get put under for it. So, and that's actually a whole nother story because it was quite traumatic. I had a bleed, and because I wasn't under any anesthetic, I watched the whole thing, and the doctors and nurses just kind of have a little bit of a mini panic attack. But luckily I had my meditation going on in my ears, and so I was really calm through the whole thing. But that was my... So I highly recommend getting one of these programs. It totally helped me slow down, especially during the process of using any kind of medical treatment. They have a natural one too, which I was like well beyond trying naturally, so I've never listened to it. But if you're at that stage and finding it really hard to get a mindfulness practice, I would definitely even recommend that. Is it going to get you pregnant? No, of course not. It's not going to get you pregnant. What it's going to do is just really calm you down and help you get through the ups and downs of when you're doing IVF, and the 2-week wait. So yeah, super highly recommend it. There's all the links to the different programs on my website, so go check them out. And while you're there, sign up for my email list, because I'm going to start doing it on the email. And yeah, that was my first introduction to mindfulness, and I really highly recommend it. It's definitely worth a go. Hello, beautiful people. I am back in the comforts of my lanai, which we're actually right by the walkway, so I'm sure people are going to be like, what is she on about? But yeah, anyways, yesterday I talked to you about Circle and Bloom and how it was kind of my big first mindfulness practice, so to say, but in reality it wasn't really that big. I used it during my cycles, and that was about it, which it was extremely helpful and amazing to use. So once again, I highly recommend it. But at that stage, so that was going to be our second IVF, I wasn't doing anything else. I hadn't found like my meditation practice. I wasn't into yoga. I was going to a gym, and their yoga class there was pretty rubbish, pretty standard. So yeah, I wasn't really doing anything else. So when our second IVF failed, I didn't even make it to day 28, which is just crazy when you're on all those drugs. I was really devastated. We had just spent a whole year improving our diet, not going out, not drinking as much, not being as social, just like the first changes, and yeah, it was really hard. And at that stage, I still didn't know what my issue was, so it was all unexplained, and I was just really ready to give up on myself. I even looked up surrogacy and printed out the forms, and I had to come inside. The people who live above us can see like right down on us, and he came outside, and there's no way I could do this with him kind of lurching about, even though he's a sweet little old man. But so anyways, I was down and out, to say the least, and I kept going though, and luckily, we demanded some immune testing that we were talked out of and told that we weren't candidates for because I wasn't having reoccurring miscarriages, and that's how we found out that I had high NK cells. So we took some more time, and we were gonna do our first frozen embryo transfer before we left York and moved to a little island in North Wales called Anglesey for like 9 weeks over the summer before my husband started his new job. So I stumbled upon a really cool podcast, which at that time that was like my go-to were podcasts. I talk about it all the time, and there wasn't very many fertility ones, so which in a way was good because it got me thinking outside of the box of my health. But it was, I think, podcast number 80 on the Bulletproof diet with UJ, I had it here, UJ Ramdas, who is actually the creator of the 5-Minute Journal. I didn't actually end up buying the 5-Minute Journal. I feel like I should go buy it and support it because it massively, I think it was a game changer in my mental way of thinking, and all the science behind what mindfulness is and writing it down, I think really worked. I just had a journal. I still have it. Just a blank line journal. And I just used to write down the 3 questions. I think in the 5-minute journal now there's 5. So those 3 questions I would write down every day, physically write those questions and then answer them. So yeah, the questions that I did is 3 things that I'm grateful for. What can I do to make today great? And what kind of person do I want to be? And so every day I just answered those, and I did it for like almost a solid year in this like just really cheap lined journal. But you can go buy it and support him in his brilliancy. But so yeah, this just changed, and I was doing it before my frozen embryo transfer, and then I got my first ever positive pregnancy, and we used immune suppressing drugs during this cycle, so and I was still on the paleo diet. I didn't go AIP yet. I don't know why, just didn't. And so I was pregnant, and we were living in this really cute seaside village by the beach, and it was an amazing summer in Anglesey, which doesn't happen very often. And I was just journaling every day, and I was lucky enough, I wasn't working at the time because we were in like this transit zone, so we just like took a lot of times to be super mindful about things. And then we went to our 7-week scan, and there was no heartbeat, and it was really hard. But yeah, I think my journaling helped me stay immensely grateful that I finally, after almost like 6 years, got pregnant. We found our answer, and it just gave me the strength to keep fighting, and that's when I went AIP, the autoimmune paleo diet for my overactive immune system, and just started focusing on healing my gut. So that's my second top tip. I still at this stage wasn't doing any yoga. I still haven't found my groove in it. I wasn't doing meditation or anything like that. I was simply writing down 3 things, 3 like key things: what I'm grateful, what can I do to make today great, and what kind of person do I want to be. It was that simple. So go check out the 5-minute journal. The link is on my website. And there's so many great journals out there now, including mine. But I think that was a game changer. So I'd highly recommend that if you are struggling, get a piece of paper and a pen even, and just start writing down what you're grateful for and what kind of life you want to be leading. I hope that helps. Hello, beautiful people. So let's talk about mindfulness again. We have already discussed Circle and Bloom and how that really supported me and got me going on my mindfulness practice. And then we talked about the 5-minute journal that really flipped the script and changed things up for me. So now we're talking about 2 failed IVFs and a miscarriage from a frozen embryo transfer. We're 6+ years into infertility, and hopes are high though at this stage for me. And I just really got into thinking of all the positive things in my life, and obviously my journey every step of the way was kind of like a step closer to where I wanted to get, so it kind of kept me going. We moved to Lincolnshire, just outside of Lincoln. And I was really lucky to stumble upon a woman just running yoga classes in a rented room at the local community college, and it finally just clicked for me. I think it was Vinyasa yoga, and I think that I really liked it too because it is really athletic yoga as well. You know, there's a lot of stretching, there's a lot of kind of like squats, you gotta hold poses, and then there's lots of mindfulness too. So much mindfulness. I actually took like some friends to this yoga class a few times, and you know, it gets really hippied out, but that's where you need to go, right? You need to just completely shut down the brain, and it takes a lot of time to get there. But so yeah, I finally found my yoga practice after, you know, a solid probably year or 2 years trying all sorts of different things, apps, you know, on the internet, even subscribing to things and thinking, oh, I'm paying money, it's gonna hold me accountable, and none of that worked for me. And to be honest, it still doesn't. I really have to go to a class. Going to class is key for me. I mean, today is the ultimate testament to it. I got into a massive tears funk before going, and I didn't want to go. And I even thought about just going to the gym and sitting on the treadmill and typing in my phone. And that's like, you know, a typical type A person, you know, when you get mad or pissed off, you either like want to like go abuse yourself or just go to sleep. You know, anything in between is just horrible because you're sat there with your thoughts. And so I made myself go in. And like once you're in a class, like you don't want to be the dickhead leaving halfway through. So it was, yeah, just super key for me to go. And so in my journey, we're talking, you know, 6 years, finally get my yoga practice down, and it's just been key. And so I, you know, just highly recommend finding something that holds you accountable for a solid like 30 minutes to an hour, so there's no escaping out of it, and something that makes you sit with your brain. So meditation is really hard to get into because no one's holding you accountable. You have to do it yourself. And even when you're just starting off slowly, it's still hard, you know, like a minute. Okay, I've done a minute, that's easy, you know, and in reality, you probably cleared your mind a little bit, but you thought, oh, I need to do that, and walk away. So yeah, if yoga's not your thing, I'm not really sure, like, what else out there can do that for you. But yeah, just get to a place or get a hobby or something that makes you accountable for just being with your thoughts. And then I think the practice is where you are retraining your brain to you're never going to clear your mind, that's just impossible, but you start learning how to clear the negative thoughts, clear the BS that you keep telling yourself, and just start listening to yourself. And like this morning with the funk, you know, it was no one's fault, it was some like repressed emotions from a kid. Hello beautiful people, I hope you have been slaying the Monday away. I'm going to continue on with my mindfulness practice, kind of hints and tips. If you remember, I started off with Circle and Bloom on my second IVF, and therefore with my frozen embryo transfers, I started journaling, using kind of in a roundabout way the 5-minute journal, so highly recommend that. And then I finally found my yoga practice that just tipped everything over the edge for me. Obviously, I was listening to a lot of podcasts along the way, too many to kind of really highlight one. I just can't even off the top of my head think of one single podcast that really helped me. But books, I've read loads of books, just keep learning through them. But my number one recommendation would be for meditation practice is 10% Happier by Dan Harris, I think it is. He is the ABC or CBS or one of the programs, like news anchor, like a really top news anchor, and he had a mental breakdown on live television, and ended up going through this like whole practice of a meditation and wrote a book about it. And yeah, it just was a book that really hit home, just helped me get through the whole hippie, meditations, kind of BS vibe. And yeah, it just helped me put down my practice and start where I was and continue on. It was just a really good story to hear someone else how they struggled with it, because like I said before, I think the whole mindfulness thing is one of the hardest things to do. So yeah, it's on the website, so you can go check it out on the website and look at all the other books that I highly recommend. So you'll notice that a lot of stuff on my website has nothing to do with infertility, and for me that was super key to kind of get out of this box. Sometimes I think it's really limited. Here comes the tribe. But yeah, check it out, and I highly recommend it for anyone. You can listen to it on Audible or read it.